Ever pondered on how unpredictable and fragile human existence is? The multitude of possibilities that lie ahead in the journey of life is indeed perplexing. One moment you're savoring the sweetness of existence, the next, you're plunged into an abyss of despair. It's like walking on a tightrope where one misstep can lead to unimaginable consequences. Such is the unpredictable dance of life and death. And on this precarious stage, we are all but fleeting performers, playing our parts, never knowing when the curtains will fall. Now imagine a serene summer morning in 1965. The sun is yet to rise and the small town of Hendek in Sakarya province, Turkey, is just beginning to stir. People are boarding a bus. Some excited for the journey ahead, others simply anticipating an ordinary day. Little did they know that this day would be anything but ordinary. On August 11, 1965, in the town of Hendek, a routine bus trip turned into a nightmare. The clock struck 3:15 a.m. and fate had a cruel twist in store. On a quiet road in Hendek, a district in the Sakarya province of Turkey, a passenger bus owned by Sivan Tourism was making its way through the early morning darkness. Meanwhile, a truck laden with nitric acid, commonly known as kezap, was parked by the roadside due to a shaft malfunction. The bus, filled with passengers dreaming of their destinations, continued its journey, unaware of the danger lurking ahead. As the distance between the two vehicles diminished, the inevitable happened. The bus collided with the stationary truck, a moment that would forever change the lives of those on board. The impact of the collision was so severe that the nitric acid from the truck spilled onto the road and into a nearby puddle of water. The acid reacted with the water, causing a thick cloud of smoke to billow into the air. This was a sight no one could have prepared for. The passengers, jolted from their slumber, woke up to a scene of utter chaos. Some of them, believing that the bus was on fire, panicked and tried to escape the vehicle. Little did they know, this was just the beginning of a horrifying sequence of events. In the blink of an eye, the collision unleashed a deadly chemical reaction. The nitric acid, also known as aqua fortis carried by the truck, spilled onto the road and seeped into a nearby puddle. This was not a mere spillage, but the start of a deadly chemical dance. The acid, reacting with the water, birthed a dense cloud of smoke, a sight as mesmerizing as it was terrifying. As the smoke infiltrated the bus, panic surged like a tidal wave. The passengers, their dreams brutally interrupted, awoke to a scene straight out of a nightmare. Their minds, fogged with sleep and fear, could only conjure one explanation: fire. The smoke, the chaos, the fear. It had to be fire. In their desperation, they scrambled. They fought. They clawed their way to the exits, their only thought to escape the smoke-filled coffin on wheels. As the passengers stumbled out, they were met not with the cold embrace of the night, but with a searing pain that shot through their bodies. Unbeknownst to them, the ground they sought refuge on was saturated with the spilled nitric acid. Each step they took, each desperate attempt to distance themselves from the perceived inferno, only intensified their torment. The acid, indifferent to their plight, continued its destructive path, eating away at whatever it touched. But the horror didn't end there. In their anguish, some sought relief in the nearby puddle, the same one now tainted by the deadly chemical. The water, once a symbol of life and purity, turned traitor under the acid's influence. It offered no relief, only more agony. The acid, now diluted, turned their flesh into a grotesque parody of what it once was. In their desperate attempts to flee, they stepped into a nightmare. The aftermath of the collision was not just a scene of a traffic accident, it was a testament to the unpredictable and merciless nature of life. A grim reminder of how quickly a normal day can turn into a day of horror and despair. In a frantic bid to escape, they unknowingly descended into a deadly trap. The chilling moment of realization dawned upon the 25 passengers as they felt the searing pain of their feet dissolving from the nitric acid that had spilled from the truck. Their minds, clouded with fear and confusion, led them to the only solace they could perceive in that moment: a seemingly harmless puddle of water by the roadside. What they didn't know was that the water was tainted, mixed with the corrosive acid that had seeped into the soil. The moment their feet touched the liquid, they were met with an unimaginable pain. Their cries echoed in the stillness of the early morning, a haunting symphony of desperation and terror. Each step they took was a step into a pool of death, the acid gnawing away at their flesh, reducing them to mere shadows of the living. In the midst of this horrific chaos, 18 of the passengers succumbed to the deadly embrace of the acid-infused water. Their screams gradually faded, replaced by an eerie silence that was only broken by the sporadic sobs of their fellow passengers, the survivors who watched in helpless horror as their companions met a gruesome end. The remaining 7, including the truck driver Mustafa Filik, were extracted from the horrifying scene. Their bodies were marked with severe burns from the acid, their faces etched with the pain and terror of the ordeal they had just survived. They were rushed to Adapazari State Hospital, clinging to the fragile thread of life that remained. The hospital staff worked tirelessly, attempting to heal their wounds and soothe their pain. But the severity of their injuries, the extent of the damage caused by the acid, proved to be too much. One by one, their bodies gave in, surrendering to the relentless pain. Mustafa Filik, the man who had been at the helm of the truck, was among them. The remaining 7, including the truck driver Mustafa Filik, were rushed to the hospital, but sadly they too succumbed to their injuries. The tragedy had run its course, claiming the lives of all 25 passengers, leaving in its wake a haunting memory of a journey that had ended in the most heart-wrenching way possible. In the wake of this terrible tragedy, the victims were unrecognizable. Such were the horrors of the Hendek bus crash of August 11, 1965, that the bodies of 18 victims were rendered beyond identification. The corrosive power of the nitric acid, or kezap, had inflicted unimaginable damage. In the aftermath, the villagers, shouldering the weight of this grim task, dug a pit close to the accident site. Here they gently laid the remains of the 18 victims whose identities were stolen by the acid. The pit was a mere 10 meters from the site of the collision, a chilling reminder of the suddenness with which life can change, the swiftness with which it can end. The village imam led the funeral rites. In the presence of the grieving families and a stunned community, he offered prayers for the departed. The solemn words of the imam echoed around the makeshift graveyard, a humble plea for peace for the lost souls and solace for those left behind. In their profound grief, the victims' families sought to commemorate their loved ones. They erected a monument in the very spot where the bodies were buried. This monument was named the Traffic Martyrs Monument, a poignant tribute to the 25 lives abruptly extinguished in the early hours of that fateful August morning. Each name etched on the monument, a testament to a life lived and a life lost. Over the years, the monument has become a place of pilgrimage. Visitors come to pay their respects, to remember the victims, and to reflect on the unpredictable nature of life. The Traffic Martyrs Monument stands as a stark symbol of the fragility of life, the suddenness of death, and the enduring power of remembrance. Today, the Traffic Martyrs Monument stands as a haunting reminder of this tragic event and the unpredictability of life. The monument invites us all to remember and to reflect, and in doing so, to cherish the lives we lead and the people we share them with. Such a horrifying incident forces us to reflect on the fragility of our existence. Life, as we know it, is a delicate string of moments, woven together in the loom of time. Each moment, fleeting and transient, is precious, for it is all we truly have. The Hendek bus accident of August 11, 1965, is a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of our existence. 25 lives were abruptly extinguished, their dreams and aspirations dissolved in the caustic fumes of nitric acid. This tragedy reminds us of the impermanence of life, the swift, brutal swing of fate that can, within seconds, transform an ordinary day into a catastrophic nightmare. It underscores the importance of treasuring our moments, of appreciating the beauty woven into the fabric of our everyday lives. Let us remember those who lost their lives in this tragic accident, and remind ourselves to cherish every moment we have on this unpredictable journey called life.